Shabbat Shalom. One day, a few weeks ago, my daughter Shalva came back from school and started talking about what some of the other kids in her class had done, some mischief, and what the teachers had said, and she was appalled by it. I said, "Well, Shalva, what did you do about it?" And it was amazing to see that even at her very young age, that she had this sense of shared responsibility. That all the students had some kind of covenant with the teacher, a group contract of how they should be and how they should act. And these children had not, they'd gone over the line of it. So in our Parsha this week, the Torah introduces at great length a very specific subject, which are the clothes of the high priest. The vestments and the tunic and the robe and the frontlet. Because the high priest had to cut an imposing presence as he was doing all of the worship in the tabernacle on Yom Kippur, on all the days. But his task was more than worship. We have this tradition that he was the symbol of the joint covenant between God and the Jewish people. And he had the breastplate, and on his breastplate were 12 jewels symbolizing the 12 tribes. And so the Midrash has a really interesting comment, and it says that every part of the high priest's clothes, there were 8 different parts, corresponded to a different type of Jewish behavior, or a different kind of behavior that the Jewish people had to work on. The tunic was for bloodshed. The trousers were for forbidden sexual sins. The mitre was for arrogance. The belt was for improper thoughts of the heart. The ephod was for idolatry. The robe was for malicious speech. And the front plate that went over the turban was for brazenness. And so the high priest symbolized an idea that we're not only responsible at some level for our own actions and for our own selves and behaviors, but we're part of a collective. And there's a sense of our actions have the power to affect the whole nation and our joint relationship with God. And so the high priest would wear these. We can imagine the people would know when they looked at it, a reminder of the fact that they had to work together on idolatry or on bloodshed. They carried a joint responsibility, that they were all bound together. And that the high priest, by his spiritual work, this is most the case on Yom Kippur, but all year, that his prayers had the power to join all the other prayers of the children of Israel and to wipe out some of the sins accumulated by the collective. He could literally atone for them. He could bring them atonement, or as I sometimes say, at-one-ment. He could bring them to at-one-ment. He'd bring them back into harmony. And so every tribe would look at the breastplate and wonder, well, what is my part in trying to bring the Jewish people's glory and the Jewish people's atonement? And everyone would think, what am I contributing to this collective? Am I helping it, or am I making it worse? And we're taught that the very clothes of the Kohen Gadol were lechavod u'tiferet, were for glory and for beauty, that they had the power to bring glory and beauty to God. Because the people had a task together, symbolized by these clothes. Together they rose, together they fell. And we see so many of our prayers are in the plural. As we said tonight, 40 shana, for 40 days, 40 years, we were in the desert, we wandered. Let us go praise God, always in the plural. And I think it is why it is important to be aware of what is happening in Israel right now. And being at this moment of crossroads, of where will the destiny and fate of the Jewish people at this moment take us? Will it go this way or that way? And there was another very interesting feature of the garb of the high priest, and specifically the breastplate. At the bottom were 2 stones, we think. We're not sure exactly what they were, but they were called the Umim and Tumim. And these stones were somehow an ancient way for people to ask God, well, what should we do? And they would ask these 2 stones somehow, and somehow these 2 stones would indicate which way to go, what decision to make, to go forward, to go backwards, to go right, to go left. Will we be successful or not? It was divination. So in our days, we do not have Urim or Tumim. We only have the Urim and Tumim in our own hearts to tell us what is right and what is wrong, how to act and how to be. But it's not always easy to call upon them or know exactly what to do. But we are all, in our own way, standing before the high priest, and we have to decide what we can do, us, the tribe of North American Jews, one part of the breastplate, an important part of the breastplate, what we can do to help the all, the collective. How can we help in our own way to prevent idolatry and brazenness and arrogance? And how can we, in our own small ways, bring love and compassion and be part of the work of atonement? We can do it through the power of prayer, of course, with our hands, with our hearts, and with our feet, just by showing concern, just by informing ourselves. Because all the Jewish people, we are together, bound by one fate. We all have the power to contribute. We all have the power to take part in the atonement, in the atonement, if we so will it. Shabbat Shalom.